Here are the exact 5 skills that I learned that helped me go from making nothing to generating over 15 million and saving 250K as a 20-year-old. Number 1, communication skills. Now, in life, it doesn't matter what you do. You could do a job, you could start a business, you could be a middleman as a DM setter talking with people and booking calls. But the number 1 thing that's always going to be there is the fact that you need to talk with people. Which means if you don't know how to talk with people in a way that's convincing, persuasive, and actually pushes them to do what you want them to do, you would have a lot of struggle with succeeding in whatever you're trying to do. And the reality is, I wasn't born with communication skills, right? Like back in school, I was the introvert. I was the one that did not have the courage to speak with the teacher or someone that sits in the back of the class or someone that does his best to avoid any sort of interaction with the other students. But with time, as I started, looking more into sales and the fact that, everything includes humans, doesn't matter what you do in communication skills, that's when I really started working on it. And I realized that communication is a skill just like any other skill. And the more you talk with people, the more your skill can actually build up. One of the best ways that I've discovered to work on my communication skills and be more open is number 1, creating content. It kind of pushes you out of your shell to just sit in front of a camera, create content, and do what you gotta do and say the words that you gotta say. The second way, a bit unconventional, is the fact that if you go to a restaurant, you compliment random people. If you see someone wearing a nice shirt, you compliment them, you start a conversation with them. The more people you talk to, the more uncomfortable situations you put yourself into with communication, the more it can build up. Now, the second thing is consistency. Now, I know it's not a skill, but I would consider it a skill considering the amount of people that just cannot stay consistent with one thing. Now, I've seen this times and times again. Doesn't matter if it was about scaling my Instagram, doesn't matter if it was about making money as a DM setter. It doesn't matter what it was about. Consistency has always been the key in my life. Now, what a lot of people would do is they would start something, they would do it for a couple of months, stay consistent with it, but not see any outputs for the inputs they're putting in, and then they would give up and start something new. And I know that because I was one of you guys. I was the one that started e-commerce. I was the one that did, a Devon agency. If you go to my Facebook, scroll down, you can see that I had like an agency called Devon Agency that did not work out. So I was jumping ships because I just could not stay consistent with something without seeing the outputs immediately. And what I realized after so many years in the space is the fact that you need to wait. Like sometimes the best thing that you can do for yourself and your business or your income is to have the patience to wait and be consistent without seeing the results of your doing and having that belief in yourself that you can do it. Because when I started my Instagram, in the first 7 months, I only had 50 followers and I was pushing content 3 times a day. But I stayed consistent with it, and over the last 2 years, I've gained about 37K followers. So rather than jumping ships and rather than trying 1,000 different things, try staying consistent with just one. Number 3 is something that you would not expect, but it's stress management. Now, I was lucky enough to get into sales from a really young age. I was 15 when I initially joined the industry. And sales in practicality is a lot of stress because you don't know how much money you're gonna make, you don't have any idea when you're gonna be let go. There's a lot of uncertainty in it. And I was put in situations again and again where I was forced to manage a lot of stress in a very limited time. And a few years ago, as a phone setter, I was working with this company. They let go of like 70% of their team, and I was the only setter on their team. And they basically told me that you're going to have to do 1,000 dials over the weekend within the 2 days, or else you're going to be let go as well. Now, again, it's weekend. I'm sick. I have dengue, and I have no idea how can I do this. And it was a lot of stress because I had the fear of being let go, but I still did that. And you know what that did? It built the character. It built the resilience to be under immense stress and still be able to do what I want to do or do the work that needs to get done. Because again, if you're trying to achieve something great, you're going to be pushed into stressful situations. And I usually talk about this, the fact that success is rented and rent is due every single day, which means that you gotta show up every single day. And sometimes things are going to be really stressful. And if you don't know how to manage that, you know what's going to happen? You're going to crumble up what you work so hard to achieve, which means stress management is one of the best and most vital skills that you can learn if you really want to be successful in whatever you're doing. Number 4 is also really weird, and it's detachment from the actual outcome. Now, back when I started, as a kid, of course my goal was to make money, and my goal was to make a lot of money, as much as I could. But as I've grown up over the years, I've realized that that's the best recipe for burnout. Because sometimes you're going to be putting in a lot of work. Sometimes you're going to be putting in your 110%, but it takes a lot of time before you see the outputs or the actual income or the result of your doing, which is gonna leave you really drained out if you keep on showing up, always looking forward to that outcome, because again, it's life. Things can take time at times. So what should you be focusing on instead if it's not the outcome? It's yourself, your growth, and your character. Because the only thing worthy of celebrating is the character that you build by being in this hustle or grind state and kind of working and putting in the work and putting in the efforts and building that discipline. That character is going to stay with you for the rest of your life, which means you really need to learn how to celebrate that and love the process rather than focusing on the proceeds and always looking forward to the outcomes. Number 5 is coming from personal experience, which is you need to have an insane level of self-belief. Now, the reality is, I know you have family, I know you have friends, I know you have people in your life, but none of them care about you enough to have the belief in you. If you try to go and do something unconventional, if you try to do something that's out of the boundaries of the society, for example, leave your college or university, nobody is going to support you in such a claim. And even if they say they support you, they're not going to show up for you when you actually need them, which means the only person that genuinely cares about you is you and yourself. And if you don't have the belief in you, you're doing it all wrong. And I usually talk about this. For you to visualize something, it needs to be a part of your reality, which means if you want to visualize yourself as a really successful person, you need to have the belief in yourself that you can change your life. Because back when I started my agency, my family was against me. Back when I started sales, my family was against me. Back when I started anything, the people were against me. They were like, that's not a good idea, even when I was leaving college. But guess what? I had the self-belief in myself, and this is where I ended up at. And that's pretty much it for the day. And if you take what I told you in this video and really apply it step by step, you would be amazed by the amount of results that you can get for yourself.